here with our Imagine Pikey Oncers. Any house fans? So how are you? How is life after Once Upon a Time?
I'm good, yeah, I've been busy, it's been good.
It looks like you're doing a lot of movies at the moment.
Well, yeah, I did Superfly, and then this film called, I'm not sure if it's going to stay called this, but Portrait Report, which is based on a true story that is really powerful. Yeah, and then
you did a movie, I think, recently with Carrie Village.
I did, yeah.
Have you had a chance to catch up with her as well?
Yeah, I saw her last night, I saw her today. It's always fun to run into friends of these.
And I know, obviously, we have to talk about Once Upon a Time, and most of the people here certainly would be massive fans of that. And I know that it has influenced a lot of their lives. How did it influence your life?
I mean, in every way, I guess. You know, obviously, it was an incredible opportunity when they asked me to play Emma. I love the script, and I love the character, and I love the idea of these worlds all coming together. And then, you know, I lived in Vancouver for 6 years, which was a big change. But I made incredible friends. I got to work with great actors. I got to play a character that I'll always hold very dear.
I mean, I've been to these actually just where the films were over it, and it does feel very magical, like a little quaint town. Did it feel like that when you were there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a sweet town. It's kind of amazing that it already existed. You sort of think that was a backlot or something we built. But it's just a very naturally charming little seaside town, and it was the perfect location for our Main Street.
It's somewhere that they sort of run with the sort of Once theme. There's loads of Shakespeare and those things dedicated to the time. And I was wondering, is there any sort of memorabilia or things that you said?
Not a ton of stuff, but I mean, I start to feel like I just repeat myself with these things. So. But I do have a dark one dagger. But I actually realized I can't find it, so I had to look for that. It's somewhere there.
And in terms of your other project, that everyone, certainly for me, everyone loves.
Mine wasn't here.
Is it on?
You need to use your theater voice.
I'm just going to shout. Oh,
there you go.
Is that on now?
Just get sensitive.
Is that better? Yes. That's okay, you need to hear it, that's right. But with House, everyone loves to go to sort of procedural, whether it's medical, whether it's crime. And I know that you really sort of looked into all the diseases and that kind of thing when you were on it. Is there anything that you sort of looked into that was really particularly memorable or really grossed you out at all?
I think I blocked it all out of my mind. There was a lot of extensive research and a lot of memorizing really difficult words for a long time. I always feel like that stuff's a little bit like a math quiz in high school. It's like you know it for as long as you need to know it, and then it just sort of
just cram it.
Falls away.
Fair enough. But did you do a similar kind of thing for Once Upon a Time? Given that there's obviously so much history around the characters, did you have a...
Yeah, I've read so many versions of so many fairy tales and so many books on the psychology of fairy tales and like the etymology of swans and all sorts of stuff. When I was researching the when we were building Dark Swan, I went to the New York Public Library and they were incredibly helpful. I kind of gave them some guidelines of what I was looking for, and they had a research assistant pull just hundreds and hundreds of pages of research on fairy tales that mentioned swans, and on fairy tales that dealt with the evolution of the feminine energy, all sorts of things, the actual swan research. So yeah, I definitely I feel like research is something that feels really important to me to use in terms of developing a character.
And I know you, as we mentioned, you've been directing, you've been working on movies, and you filmed Sundogs. And I was wondering.
Don't be shy. It's okay. It's not going to bite you.
So why did you choose Sundogs as the film that you were going to direct first?
It's interesting because I get asked this a lot, and I didn't think about it as much before as after having made the film, only because when you haven't directed a feature yet, it's not like people are throwing amazing scripts at you and being like, please, please, please let me be your directorial debut. there's a lot that goes into all of it, and there's a lot of faith someone has to have in you to take that risk on you. And so I was just very lucky that that script fell into my hands and that the writer was willing to allow me to option it. And I really did fall in love with all the characters, and I really loved the overall message. So luckily it was something that I really responded to, and the writing really resonated with me, but I also was just lucky that that person was willing to take a risk on me.
And now you're working with, or you have been working with Alex on Backroads, which is his directorial debut.
Yeah.
So did you sort of pass on any words of wisdom?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Like, you sort of have a different camaraderie with first-time directors after having directed. And I signed on to that project not long after finishing Sundogs, and so I was very, very much in the headspace of what it took to put something like that together. And when he and I first Skyped, we were meeting over Skype to sort of see if it made sense for me to do the project. I just was so blown away by his vision and his passion and how hard he had worked to put all the pieces together. And I really recognized a lot of what I had just gone through in what he was going through. And I think that, and I think he would say the same thing, that we made a really good team in that way, you know, that I could be a real advocate for him, and I could not just be the woman playing this character, but also be someone who could be a support system to him as a director.
Well, in terms of characters, I think Once Upon a Time had some fantastic and huge sort of array of characters, obviously, and that was the heart of the show, was the relationships. And we all know Emma and Kirk and Belle and the Beast and Prince Charming. But I have to wonder, were there any unusual relationships in that show that sort of stuck out to you, that was surprising, made you laugh?
In terms of the way they paired people up?
Yeah.
I don't know if I had time to think about it. It's not something that ever occurred to me. I don't know. I just was always blown away by the scripts. You know, I always felt like 22 to 24 scripts a year, that's just a lot. It's just a huge quantity for writers to have to turn out. My hat is off to anyone who is able to do that. And with Once Upon a Time in particular, they were so creative and so different and unique, and there was no way to guess what the next week was going to be. And I think that was the fun of it. It's just getting these scripts, and we got to be audience members as we read the scripts, the way you guys got to be audience members when you saw the scripts. But we were always just kind of floored by all these creative options that they came up with and twists on things that we really enjoyed.
So I want to give you guys a chance to ask questions as well, but before I do, one question I want to know the answer to.
Sure.
If Dr. Cameron and Emma Swan met, would they be friends?
I think, well, I don't know if I would call it friends, but I think Dr. Cameron would definitely want to help and save Emma Swan in some way, and Emma would definitely want to help Cameron, I don't know, be a little like edgier or tougher or something. I think they would be drawn to each other because they would try to save each other in some way. They're both trying to save people for different reasons, so they probably try to save each other in some way.
Mutual saviors.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so if you guys want to stick your hands up, and I will try and pick you guys out. Okay, over here, first of all. Yes?
Oh, it's been great. I was super lucky and super honored that that Brian Yorkie and Michael Morris allowed me to come and observe. They shoot 2 episodes at a time, so it was a 2-episode block, which meant I was there for about 7 weeks. I was there for the whole prep process and for filming for the whole 2 episodes. And you know, it's really wonderful to be invited in to watch the creative process on a show like that, and I was just really happy to be there.
Great. Yeah, over here.
Oh, you want me to fluff the whole room's aura? Yeah, that's a lot of work. Why don't you come here? I'll fluff your aura. It's really not that elaborate. You all get a bit of that in the front.
Okay, over there at the back, gentleman over there, yeah, in the red shirt.
You've done a lot of different roles in television and movies. What made you decide to make that jump into directing?
I think it was kind of a natural evolution, and it's something that it's always kind of been in the plan and a part of me in some way, just because I started directing theater in high school and then directed quite a bit of theater in college, and I actually directed some really small productions of theater in LA when I first moved there, but then I got so busy as an actor that it was hard to keep up with that. And then once I was on so many sets and around so much of the technical stuff and started really studying the technical stuff, I just really started to fall in love with it, and I really wanted to start branching out into that. So, there's no part of me that wants to stop acting. I love acting. But I really, and this goes back to some of the research that we were talking about, I think because so much of my love for the creative process is in the research, I get to use so much more of that when I'm directing. I get to really put that to use and really see all of that come to life in a different way when I'm directing. And so it just feels like a really nice way for me to be able to explore my creativity in a different way, and it really feels additive to my acting career. And ultimately also, when you're acting, and not everybody thinks about this, but when you're acting, you give yourself up. You're not yourself for most of the day. And so I've spent 15 years, 16, 17, 18 hours a day being someone I'm not, which doesn't mean leave a ton of hours to be yourself when you're trying to sleep as well. And I think I just reached a point in my life where I wanted to be able to create, but also create while I was myself. And so directing gives me that opportunity.
So what's it like then directing yourself?
Well, luckily I haven't had to do a ton of that yet. We'll see if I get there. I really have great admiration for anyone who does it. I mean, this was something that really made me in awe of Alex Pettifer actually on Backroads, was that he was not only producing and directing this film, but he was starring in it as well, and it's just such a huge undertaking. I've only had a couple scenes that I had to direct myself, and the biggest thing that I feel that I miss when I'm doing that is the connection with the other actors. I really love being able to be their advocate and really be their team member in those moments, and be able to see them feel safe enough to try things and risk things and grow. And when I'm in the scene with them, I feel a little removed from that part of the process a little bit. So I'm not saying I would never direct myself, but I think it's going to be a little while before I feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, let's see. So over here, this side.
You mentioned that you've done a lot of research yourself regarding Emma along this one research time. How much were you able to influence the role yourself compared to how much was straight from the writer?
I don't know that I'll ever know. I mean, what was on the page for the pilot was on the page for the pilot. That had nothing to do with me. And I think that really great writers, which we had an incredible team of writers, always will draw on what the actors bring to the table, especially on a show that lasts for this long. So I'll never really know how much of it came from some of the research I did and some of the instincts that I had, and how much of it was just that they had already seen her in a certain way and I was adapting to that and doing my best to live up to what they had put on the page. I don't know that you could ever unwind those two things. I know that looking back, this was probably a super annoying thing to do, but when I first met the writer's room, I went in with like a packet of research that was like an inch thick. And I had done this little thing that says Emma Swan, really cool, with all these pictures and stuff. I gave them all packets. I don't know, it might not have been the best idea. I'm sure there was a lot of things said about me once that door closed, but I did the research. Thought I might as well share it.
Okay, on this side, they do the glasses?
Me?
Yeah.
I was wondering, do you have any advice to those who are going into the film industry? Like how do we get our foot into the industry?
Who want to get in the industry?
Yeah.
This is just such a tricky answer. I was very lucky because I started really young, so I had a totally different entry path than most people. So I don't know if I have great advice about this, and I also think that the world has changed so drastically because of YouTube and Instagram and the immediacy of social media. There's there are sort of endless ways that people could be discovered now, which didn't exist when I was on my way up. So, you know, I don't know great advice except to say, whatever it is that you want to do, be great at it. Be overly prepared. Do everything you can to be prepared for it, because you don't know when your opportunity is going to come. And when it comes, you have to be ready for it, or it will pass you by. So you need to be prepared. And also make stuff. You know, if you're a writer, write. If you're a director, direct. If you're an actor, act. Do all of it, even if you're not any of those things in your own mind. Because there's a place to do it now. I mean, you can have your own, I don't even know any of these things, like Facebook channel or YouTube channel, or, you know what I mean? Like, everything has a channel. I don't know, there's like the television icon on my Instagram. I don't even know what to do with it. I don't understand what it is. And videos recommended for you. It's like, I thought there were already videos recommended for me. Is this another form of video recommended for me? Anyway, that's a whole side story. But I'm just saying, you know, there is a world now where people can people watch people eat dinner and they get paid for it. I mean, like there's no excuse to not make something and put it in the world. So, you know, if you need to make it on your iPhone, make it on your iPhone. If you have a friend who has a camera, make it, you know, just figure it out. Like, we have the access now to do that. And you know, it's not like the old days where you can't afford, you know, actual film for an actual camera. We have, it's a much more democratic world of art now. So, you know, make stuff.
Do you remember your big break? Like your first sort of...
You mean the Beanie Weenie commercial that I did when I was 10? I don't know. I don't think that was a big break, but I remember it. No, I did a couple big commercials when I was a kid that definitely helped me get the attention of like the film department at Stewart Talent in Chicago. And then they started letting me kind of make tapes, audition tapes for movies, and the first kind of big film that I got was Intersection with Richard Gere and Sharon Stone.
As your parents.
As my parents, yeah.
Pretty cool. Which side did we go? Yeah, this side, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
If you were directing a movie about your own life, would you choose to play yourself?
Jessica Herman. There's probably no one more similar to me, to be honest. I'm sorry to put you on the spot. This is my dear friend Jessica. She's amazing. Also a very talented actress and writer. We've been super close for many years, and I think when you're that close as friends, you start to take on each other's traits, but we're both, here's the best thing that explains how similar we are. We really enjoy looking at each other's very, very organized refrigerators. Like, when I organize my refrigerator, I'm like, hey Jess, you should come over and like, see if you want a LaCroix. And then she looks at the very organized refrigerator and she goes, oh, it's so nice. And then I do the same thing. So we're just both bizarre in the same way. So I would choose Jessica Herman to play me.
Yeah. You bond over fridges, you bond forever.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, yeah, over here.
I think the hardest scene for Once Upon a Time was the scene where Dark Swan had to kill Dark Hook. I know. Sorry, did you not get there yet in the viewing? Sorry. She seemed really upset.
Reliving it right now.
Yeah, it was hard for multiple reasons. I mean, it was a scene that we ended up having to shoot twice, which is just not one of those scenes you have to do twice, when I have to do twice. The first night we were shooting it, it was like late and raining. Not that that was unusual, because it's always late and raining in Vancouver, but, and you know, it was just kind of complicated emotions to try to conjure up over and over and over again for 12 hours or however long we shot that scene. And it's also tricky to figure out how to get to a place emotionally where you can justify what had to be done in that scene. So it was just tricky to walk that line emotionally. And then we ended up having to shoot it again on the stage. And so then it was like another like 6 or 7 hours in addition to the original 12. And it's just, I think anytime you have to stay in that dark of a headspace for a long period of time, it just gets wearing, and it's hard to have the what's the word I'm looking for? for. The stamina, you know, emotionally, just kind of stay in that headspace and make sure that you're really giving everything you need to give to make it seem right.
You do a lot of crying.
It's like they figured out I could cry, and they're like, I was just gonna cry. And every episode.
Good spontaneous crier, is that a thing? Or you have like a knack to do it?
I don't know. I mean, I never thought of myself as a big crier, but apparently I have a lot to cry about.
They saw something in you.
I was discovering some old scars.
Okay, yeah, over here.
What's more fun to play, a hero or a villain?
It depends on what kind of hero and what kind of villain. I know that's not a great answer, but there's really cool things about both. But like, you know, I had a really good time exploring Dark Swan, and I really enjoyed finding that kind of like freedom and that different side of Emma, and letting her grow from that. But then, you know, the other side of that is that was, you know, sort of a fairy tale villain, and there's something kind of fun and exciting about playing a fairy tale villain because they're not really real. Whereas like in Superfly, I just played a really bad person, and I really struggled with that. I was very resistant to like even finding my way into that character, and I don't know, I saw somewhere someone posted like, every time Jen talks about Superfly, she scratches her face, and I was like, I do, because I get so uncomfortable thinking about playing that character. It was just, there's something so horrible about trying to figure out how to justify that kind of behavior that it's uncomfortable. So that kind of villain, I don't love. I mean, the challenge is interesting, and I hope that I was able to rise to the challenge. But you know, fairy tale villain, the stakes are different, and it's, you know, there's a different playfulness to it. You know.
Is there something you do at the end of the day when you're playing sort of deep, dark character like that to kind of push it all off?
I just go home and cry.
Stick to what you're good at.
I don't know. I'm a big bath person. I feel like a salt bath is my solution to everything. I mean, I literally will take like 3 or 4 baths in a day sometimes. Like sometimes I'm just like, oh my gosh,
I'm the same. I do the same thing. That's where I think. That's amazing.
The people at the store when I'm buying the Epsom salts think I'm like making meth or something. Why do you need an entire basket of bath salts?
What are you
Take a lot of baths.
Okay, we're going to take one from the back. So, yeah, you're waving, so go for it.
What made you start acting? And by the way, I love you.
Aw, thank you. I don't know, I was sort of possessed. I really never thought of myself as anything but an actor when I was a kid. I don't remember having memories without thinking of myself as an actor. So it was just something that I was always attracted to and I always wanted to do, and I was very lucky that my parents were supportive about it. You know, their attitude was always, as long as I did well in school, I could do that for fun. So made me extra motivated to be good in school.
Okay, lady with the blue glasses.
No pressure.
Uh-oh. Great way to start.
What's your best advice for keeping organized for portrayals?
I feel like Jessica could really help me with this answer. You just have to be willing to let things go. You gotta just throw it out. You gotta throw it out. If you're not gonna eat it, you gotta just let it go.
Was that color coding you said?
Yeah, it's color coded. Yeah, it's, you know, it's also about making sure the shelves are in the right place for the things that you typically put in your refrigerator. I'm serious, there's like a real system to this. So, you know, like if you know that you're gonna stock multiple flavors of LaCroix, which I may or may not do, you wanna know that you have a shelving layer that is exactly the right size for LaCroix, and then you can file them all next to each other in this, you know, and then like I have the 1 liter bottle sizes of the Fuji, and then they all live in a certain spot, and then I have like the veggie drawer, you know, it's like you gotta have a place, everything has to have a home. You have to kind of work out, and you have to really keep an eye on the condiments because they go bad, or they've been sitting around for a long time, or people bring stuff over because they came to a barbecue, and all of a sudden you've got like 14 barbecue sauces, none of which you're going to use, and they're just making your refrigerator look ugly. So, you know, just streamline the condiments.
I feel like there's a whole other panel there. We'll come back to that.
Okay, let's see. I can see a red sleeve over there at the back. Yeah.
Me? So, hi. My question was, when you took on the roles of like Allison and Emma, did you ever like have an idea that these characters would impact so many lives as they did? Like influencing people to like, you know, go to med school, or like even with Emma, just like knowing that they could find a home? Or, you know?
No, I mean, I just was so happy and lucky to be offered roles that I felt like were women I really admired on the page. You know, it's definitely getting better, but back in the day, a lot of the roles for women were not strong, smart, interesting, complicated women, and both of those women are. So I was more excited from a personal standpoint, and I think, I don't know, I guess maybe everybody's different, but from my standpoint, I think it's a little bit dangerous to try to think big picture that way, because it becomes something that you can't wrap your brain around. They're just women. They're just people. The way I'm just a person, you know, and they are strong and smart and complicated, but they're also human and flawed and make mistakes. And I think for me, I just wanted to try my best personally to build as whole of a person as possible in both those situations. And then I think, you know, the unexpected and sort of beautiful thing about any art that gets seen is that people project what they need and what they hope for onto the characters that they watch. And because both of those shows were so well written and full of so much creativity, I think that they had such a wide reach, and I think that's the writing really doing its job. And you know, it's just kind of the icing on the cake when something you built is a part of something that makes a difference. But it's definitely not something that I had any perspective on when I said yes to those jobs.
Okay, great. Let's take one from the front. Over here. Yeah, do you want to stand up? Ask your question?
Hi, sorry. I was just wondering if, God forbid, the door to showbiz was closed for you, what other career path do you think you might pursue?
Personal organizer?
You'd be great at that. Amazing.
I don't know. I mean, if there wasn't doing anything in the entertainment industry, maybe like interior designer. Because you could also do some organizing, you know.
Okay, this side. Yeah.
So you worked with a number of like big film heavyweights like Hugh Laurie, Robert Carlyle. Have there been any lessons that you've learned from working with them that you've now taken into either directing or your own acting career?
I mean, absolutely. I don't know if they're lessons that I could ever put into words or quantify. You know, you can't not learn when you're working with people like that, you know. And they're both unbelievable artists and incomparable professionals, and they bring so much detail and nuance to the characters that they play, and they never stop digging for more, and they are always looking to make their characters more interesting, more compelling, more full as human beings. And you know, you just naturally, I think, if you're open to it, you start to take on a lot of what you're around when you're around actors like that.
What was it like then working with JJ Abrams on the big
he's
Star
awesome.
Trek Sci-fi franchise?
He's amazing. He's just one of those people that like I'm just blown away by how his brain works, because he has such an incredible combination of the technical mixed with the emotional. You know, sometimes you work with directors that are very, very, very technical, but they're not quite sure what to say to an actor, or they don't quite know how to help you find what you need emotionally, or vice versa. There might be someone who like is great emotionally, but they're not sure where to put the camera. He has such a clear technical vision, and he always elevates everything and does something unexpected and cool that looks amazing and makes his projects just come to life in such a cool way. And then on top of it, has just such a beautiful perspective on the emotional side of things. You know, it's like every time we would do a take, he'd come in with a new idea, and I come in with a lot of ideas, and I felt like I was just blown away that he kept continuing to kind of push me further and push me to find something else. And I know that he always does that with everyone. So I think that he's just an incredible mix of both those things.
Because basically you come in, you no pressure, give birth to a legend, Kirk. So what was it like? Because you're pretty much screaming and sort of
It's really
in a
exhausting.
wheelchair at that time.
Well, it was also, those sets were incredible. Like, they were so real. You so often in that stuff, you're on a green screen, or there's like some stuff, but they're putting the fire in post or whatever. It was like, no, all that shit happened. Like, it all happened. And I get rushed in there. I'm in my thing with my little, you know, with baby belly, and they're putting sweat on me or whatever, and they like throw me in a wheelchair, and I'm like, holy shit, like this whole thing has been built. And then they're like, and action, and there's like fire going off, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, there's like no acting involved here, this is terrifying. I was like, I don't even understand how that all just happened. So I think some of the magic of JJ's films as well is how much is built practically, you know, like so much of it is real and is actually happening. I do feel like the fire was really close to my hair at some point, but I survived. So maybe it wasn't as close as I imagined it. I'm sure they were keeping everything safe, but yeah, some of that really was just like the awe of it all feeling so real. Those ships were all built and had every detail, and it was really absolutely incredible. And it was, you know, but it's crazy and exhausting. I mean, it took like a week to shoot that sequence. And by the time you get to the end of a week of having the same baby for a week, I was worn out.
I love as well how fans point out that that Kirk is the son of Emma Swan and Thor. That's great. Yeah. Okay, next question. Yeah, over here.
Oh, are you saying like I can walk away from it easily afterwards, or? Yeah, I mean for the most part I can. I think mostly because I was trained in theater. You know, I came up on stage, and you're kind of required to figure that out when you're doing theater, because you've got to be able to exactly represent your performance every night for 50, 60, 100 performances or whatever, and you don't ever want to let an audience down, you know. But within that, you're refining a tool set so that you can build something and you can build a life, but then you can put it down and walk away from it. I certainly have had times where I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I'm just worn out from it, but I don't feel like I'm someone who brings the emotions of my character home or takes something out on someone, or I'm definitely not a method actor. So, you know, there's definitely like a certain kind of exhaustion that can be involved in it, but it's not that I can't sort of put that person down. And I hope I'm right.
Okay, let's see. Over here? Yeah.
So a couple months ago, I mentioned you and Colin were discussing me and it was some crazy ones. It's got a lot of folks on show.
Yeah.
And then your kids were me.
I know, you know, it's funny because Eddie and Adam said that they hadn't seen that interview, so they swear that it was a coincidence. Who knows? We'll never know.
And what was it like?
I mean, I held her for, you know, a couple minutes every time we did a take. It's not what you guys think it is. I mean, I think it's so sweet that they had a baby and that it's named Hope, but like, I probably interacted with the baby that played Hope for 10 minutes of my life, you know. She was cute. Might have been a he, not sure.
I love the fact that they baby-proofed Hook's Hook.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little kid over there in the black t-shirt, yeah. You're gonna have to shout for us, I think.
Oh, my favorite color. I feel like the color I should choose is red.
Yeah, here.
I don't think there's a better name for Emma than Emma. I mean, I was so happy actually, because originally, not that there's anything wrong with this name, but in the pilot script it was Anna Swan, and they couldn't get the name cleared, and I ended up having like a long conference call with Eddie and Adam and Mark Mylod, who directed the pilot, and they had come up with a bunch of name options, and we all naturally gravitated to Emma as the option. I just love that Emma feels very kind of, like it feels like a classic novel name to me, you know, like it's a name that shows up in a lot of classic literature. And they had obviously chosen Swan for her because of the ugly duckling story and the idea that she had to sort of find her own people to know who she truly was, find her fairy tale people in order to know who she truly was. Yeah, I can't imagine her having another name. Would you pick a different name for her?
Yeah, gentleman in the red t-shirt.
How would Dr. House diagnose
That's a good question. He would probably say it in some sort of really fancy, nonchalant way. He probably, I mean, I'm sure he'd say that she had a savior complex or some sort of like God complex. You know, that she would take care of others at the expense of herself in some way. I don't know what you would call that in medical terms. And he'd just probably give her a bunch of crap for like not being more selfish. That's my guess.
There are lots of realms of story other than the one that you actually travel to. If you could choose any other one to travel to, what would you choose?
Can you give me like 4 options?
So, like Narnia.
Oh, that's a good one. Ooh. Oh. This is really fun. I should ask for bullet points all the time.
We'll just make the whole thing multiple
I think I just like came up with a new system.
Yeah.
Multiple choice Q&A. Those are 4 great options. Can I go to all 4? I mean, they all sound fun. Or maybe I could take like a lightsaber to Narnia while I brought my wand from Harry Potter land and, you know, met an elf from Lord of the Rings and we went on an adventure together.
Like an Emma Swan spin-off.
Sure. Emma Swan travels the realms.
Yeah. I like that. What is there, I mean, I know that you're obviously a fan of a few sci-fi shows yourself, so is there anything that you're particularly excited watching at the moment?
I don't know that I have any sci-fi on my lineup right now. I've been finishing Sharp Objects. I'm not quite done with that. It's like a really sweet show that I didn't expect to fall in love with, but I was watching it as research for a job I was offered as a director. I ended up not doing the job, but I looked up The Bold Type. Have you guys seen this? And I just love those girls. I just think they're so sweet and they're so cute together, and I love their friendship, and I love sort of the value to the stories that they tell, and yeah, I don't know, like that's actually been something, it's been like, I think when you're like overstressed and overbusy, sometimes it's nice to just like check out a little bit and watch something that's a little more feel good.
Yes.
And that's definitely kind of satiated that craving for me.
Yeah, over here.
Oh, thank you. We tried all sorts of things, not that they worked very well. It was mostly just cold, but hot water bottles, the wardrobe department was always very sweet. They were always trying very hard to keep us warm. We'd have like those like sticky hot things, like the hot pack. Yeah, I'd wear like an undershirt and I would tape them all the way around, and then I would do like another like long john, and then I'd put them in my armpits, and then I'd have like extra layers on, and then they'd have the hot water bottles for us, and you know, we did our best, but it's hard. It's really hard in Vancouver only because once you get wet and it's cold, it's very hard to ever get warm. So I don't know that we ever succeeded at staying warm, but those were our valiant attempts.
How comfortable was the red jacket?
It looks great.
Okay, yeah, over here. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. it's kind of hard to, I always feel like my brain goes blank as soon as someone asks me this question. I feel like all day long I'm like, oh, that person's amazing and that person's amazing. And then I get here and I'm like, I should make a list. I'm trying to think. I feel like I really, really like some of the choices that Michelle Williams has made in terms of like, she came from a television show, she did really interesting film work, she does really interesting theater work. I really respect the way she moves between all the mediums, and she seems to make just some interesting choices. Like, she clearly takes characters because she really responds to them and resonates with them, and I love that. Gosh, there's so many people. I think Nicole Kidman gets better and better, you know, and she's always been amazing, but like, I'm always impressed how, you know, someone, I guess, at that point in their career could get lazy, because they could, and she's just not. You know, she's always like pushing her boundaries and trying something new, and I couldn't even recognize her at Top of the Lake. It was so interesting to see her play a character that was so unrelentingly unlikable, and she just went for it. I was like, wow, that's cool. I'm trying to think of other people right now. There's so many. There's so much great work that's going on, I think, especially on television right now. But yeah, there's like, I don't know, who do you like? I'll probably like them too. Let's do multiple choice again. Give me 4. Yeah, that's true. I like her albums. Amy, yeah, she's great. Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing, is like, I just think that I always try to tell this to young actors. It's like, there's a place for everybody, you know, like, not every role is going to be your role, but the roles that are yours will be yours as long as you're doing the work, you know. And so it's fun. It's really fun to watch all these other cool performances that are going on all these great television shows right now.
Yeah, it's a great time for TV. Okay, I'm afraid this is our last question, so make it good. Let's see, do you want to choose one? No. Yeah, little girl in black over here.
In sundogs, there was a lot of references to
Well, yeah, it was in one shot. It was a couple things. One, I love Annie Hall. I love Harold and Maude. I think Eddie and Adam both love Annie Hall and Harold and Maude. So that's where I think the Yellow Bug came from for Once Upon a Time. And so it was sort of my nod to those movies, as well as obviously Emma drove that car. But honestly, we had no idea what kind of car Allison's character was going to drive, and we asked her what she wanted to drive, and that's what she asked to drive. So it was like, great. That ticks a lot of boxes. We'll go with that. I think it was the first car she had in college or something, so she wanted to have that car for her character.
Well, thank you so much for chatting about fridges and everything else.
Thank you for watching the Convention Junkies coverage of Fan Expo Canada 2018. Join the conversation below with a comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe to see more. If you would like to help us with future projects, please visit our Patreon page.